all share in a world of images made increasingly accessible through digital media like social networks and blogs. However, making images in a research context comes with risks even if you have the best intentions. Images have the potential to cause harm if the subjects in them are identifiable. Harms can include being ostracized, shamed, persecuted, losing income, or being the target of discrimination or violence. Portraits are a familiar and comfortable way to tell stories about people's lives. However, there are other ways to make compelling and interesting images about your research topic without focusing on people's faces. Using some of Dina Stryker's photographs made in Cuba between 1963 and 64 and available in Duke Library's digital archive, we can see some ways to make strong photographs that do not depend on the portrait formula. First is to think about how the space in which people live tells stories about their lives. In this photograph, the subject is not the person in the foreground. It's the relation of the person with the harbor and the Havana skyline beyond. The three elements, person, sea, and urban environment, immediately express basic information about this place and its people. This image of people gathered in a lobby outside a nightclub also tells us about the social lives of some of Stryker's subjects. Notice that despite the number of people in the photograph, no one in the foreground is facing the camera. We are able to observe a great amount of detail without relying on faces as the central subject of the photograph. Stryker's archive contains a number of images where the setting or location is given added importance as she photographs people turned away from the camera. People enliven the photographs, but because their faces are not visible, we are asked to explore the images for other details about the lives of the subjects. We see Castro exercising, a child enthralled by an illuminated shop window, a mother and her children crossing the street, people passing a tobacco shop. In this photograph, one woman looks directly at us, revealing herself to us. Though it alters the composition of the photograph, cropping the image tightly protects her identity. Cropping and refocusing an image are techniques that can be used after the fact to create photos that protect your subjects. Both of these examples show how a photograph can be altered to shift attention away from the face and to an action or another part of the body that can be powerfully representative of a subject's identity without depending on the portrait alone to do all the narrative work. A final technique is that of shadow and silhouette. This series of images are all dynamic examples of how people can be actively represented in their social environments without needing to display their faces to the camera. In fact, these images are perhaps more evocative precisely because they do not depend on the conventional and overworked formula of the portrait to describe the subjects. Photographs are powerful objects and their use requires careful thought before they are included in a research project.